Right, we are now well and truly into the new year now. MotoGP is starting in less than 2 months and teams are going to start launching their bikes literally next week. So I think this is the perfect time to start previewing the upcoming 2025 season. And what better way to do it than to look at all the rookies coming from Moto2 to MotoGP and just look at how they're going to do, or what I think they're going to do, in their rookie seasons. So, we have 3 rookies coming up to MotoGP this season. Fermin, Aldeguer, Ai Ogura and Somkiat Chantra. We're going to look at all 3 and I'm just going to give my thoughts on how they're going to do in this upcoming season, their rookie season. We're going to start with Fermin Aldeguer. Fermin Aldeguer was announced to be joining the 2025 grid literally 1 race into last season. Straight after Qatar, Ducati announced that he'd be racing for them in this upcoming season, and from that point on he had a very underwhelming season. In a season where he was favourite to win, he finished 5th in the championship. He made multiple rookie errors, and despite 3 victories, it was generally a disappointing season from him. And there were quite a few rumours saying that Ducati were going to drop him for this upcoming season. That hasn't happened, but his patchy form last season has put a lot of doubt over whether he's going to perform in 2025 or not. However, Fermin Aldeguer, he clearly has a lot of talent. He showed that by winning 4 races in a row at the end of 2023, which is the main reason Ducati signed him up so quickly. Even throughout his disappointing season last season, there were quite a few races where he was fighting right to the front, and he managed to win 3 races last year, and he probably should have won more if he didn't make some silly mistakes. Fermin Aldeguer is such a talented rider. He's definitely the most talented rider who's been promoted this year, and he showed that by being the fastest of all the rookies in the postseason test. He's shown that he's good in the wet, he can lead a race from the start, he can fight his way through the grid. He's a very capable rider, and some people think that he's going to completely flop and then get binned off mid-season. I can't see that happening at all. However, I do think that he is in for a very inconsistent season. I think similar to his teammate Alex Marquez, Fermin Aldeguer will have some races where he's by far the slowest of the Ducatis, and then he'll have other weekends where he's literally fighting for podiums. He's not really going to show any sort of consistency. It will very much depend on which tracks he's good at, in my opinion. One of those tracks is Phillip Island, and I've got a bold prediction to make. I think Fermin Aldeguer will get a pole position and a podium at Phillip Island this season. He is very strong at that track. Even in his early days at Moto2, he was very fast at that track. So I think he'll get a podium and pole position at Phillip Island this season. For next year, Aldeguer will be on the same bike as both Franco Morbidelli and Alex Marquez. These are 2 very average riders, especially Morbidelli. If Aldeguer gets beaten comfortably by both of those 2, it would be safe to say he's just not up to the standard of MotoGP, or not yet at least. However, if he is able to beat those 2 in his rookie season, it shows that he is a very capable rider who has a future in MotoGP. In my opinion, he will beat Morbidelli in the championship and he'll be just behind Alex Marquez. He won't get battered at all. Considering Alex Marquez is entering his 6th season of MotoGP, we can't expect Aldeguer to beat him really, and I think he'll be very competitive between those 2. Overall, I think Aldeguer's rookie season will be very inconsistent. He'll show some flashes of brilliance and also he'll make some silly mistakes, but overall he'll be competitive and he'll show enough to have a future in MotoGP. So yeah, I think he'll have a good season. Nothing amazing, but nothing disastrous as well. Let's move on to Ai Ogura now. He is of course the reigning Moto2 champion, and he won that championship very comfortably in the end. Ai Ogura managed to win that championship based purely off consistency really, getting a few wins but mostly just being able to bring the bike home in a top 5 position in every race really, in a season where no one else was able to replicate that sort of consistency. Ai Ogura has shown across his career that he is a very capable rider in the wet, and he's an extremely smart rider who saves his tyres and gets much better as the race progresses. However, his biggest Achilles heel is he struggles in qualifying a lot. Especially towards the start of last season, Ai Ogura was consistently qualifying in 17th place, and it constantly meant that he had to fight his way through the grid. Now, it's alright being able to do that when you're on one of the fastest bikes like he was last year, but he's going to be on the Trackhouse Aprilia, which will not be the fastest bike on the grid next year. Which means I think that Ai Ogura's poor qualifying will have a much bigger effect on his results this season than it did last season, especially in sprint races, because of course there'll be a much less time to fight his way through the grid. Like Fermin Aldeguer, Ai Ogura will have a very average teammate really in Raul Fernandez next year. A teammate who will put up a fight against Ai Ogura, but he really shouldn't be getting battered by him. And I think that those two will be very even across the season. I think across the season, Ai Ogura will end up matching Raul Fernandez on pace and on points really. Ai Ogura, we've seen, like I said, he doesn't really go for standout results, he just aims for consistency, and I think if he's able to get consistent results in and around the top 10, he'll have a good season, and if he's within Raul Fernandez's points tally, he's had a good season. However, I think the Trackhouse just won't be competitive enough for him to really get many standout results and fight for any sort of podiums or anything. And finally we have Somkiat Chantra. Somkiat Chantra's promotion to MotoGP was a bit of a controversial one, as it's very clear that he is got into that seat because of his passport really. There are about 8 or 10 other riders in Moto2 who are more deserving of a MotoGP seat than Somkiat Chantra. With that being said, I do think that he isn't exactly a downgrade on Takaki Nakagami. I think in just normal dry weather running he'll be very similar pace wise to Nakagami, maybe a few more crashes, but I think he'll be very similar. However, Somkiat Chantra is shown himself to be an expert in the rain, and he's also very good at the Asian tracks, like Indonesia, Thailand, Motegi, he's brilliant at. So these factors combined means that Somkiat Chantra, in my opinion, definitely has it within him to get a few surprise results in this upcoming season. And I do think this is another bold prediction. I think he'll get a shock top 5 result at some point this season, either when it rains or at a track he likes, or even both. I think he'll get a top 5 result, which will probably be Honda's best result all year. That's including sprint races, by the way. However, realistically, Chantra is likely going to be on the slowest bike, especially at the start of the year, and I do think that he will struggle to pick up consistent points across the European rounds especially. I also see him getting comfortably beaten by Johan Zarco, his teammate, because Zarco showed himself last year to be still a really good rider, and Chantra's just not on that level. So realistically, I do think Chantra, despite him getting a surprise result or two, he will be the slowest of the Hondas across the whole year. However, like I said, I think he'll get those 1 or 2 shock results which will earn him a seat for 2026. So yeah, those are the 3 Moto2 riders being promoted to MotoGP, and that's how I think they'll do. I've got Aldeguer and Ai Ogura to both have good seasons being in and around their teammates, while Chantra will mostly struggle apart from 1 or 2 shock results. And those are the predictions I've got for how each MotoGP rookie will do in their debut seasons. I want to know what you guys will think, so let me know in the comments, how will these 3 riders perform in their debut seasons? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like on the video, and while you're there, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I hope you lot enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye bye.